do we have to check back with the nature and kind of think, are we kind of overdoing it a bit? Because if you think about, I heard this from Tim Urban. I think it was an article when he was talking about putting the human history into 600 pages, right? And then he was saying the last 2 pages are flipping crazy, and then the first 598 pages are super boring.
Yeah.
So that, to me, I find it, how come has evolution speeded up so much that, every year we have breakthroughs that we used to take centuries to achieve.
But that has been the whole purpose behind technology. If you look at it in terms of, a simple one to give. When you had the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, all these were technological advances. So you ended up creating tools that enabled you to do more and faster. Then when certain things like electricity was not discovered, but when it was harnessed, that was a whole other unleashing, and it's just been incrementally. If you take agriculture, there would be 12 people out in a field with scythes cutting corn. Now you've got one tractor in a field which is the size of, a small county, that doesn't have anybody in it, that is completely linked to satellites, that will, seed the land in accordance to gradients and all this kind of stuff, and collect in the most phenomenal size harvest without anybody being there. So technology is all about that. And the difference, one of the differences is the time difference between something being created and then happening is reducing and reducing and reducing. And I think this is one of the biggest challenges, is that it's not so much the technology, it's our ability to be with it. Because if you've got something, it's like right now. I couldn't even begin to imagine what is being worked on right now, which might not have been, even in people's thinking. And again, that's the key, 6 months ago to 9 months ago. But the stuff which, our consciousness and the possibilities are expanding and expanding and expanding. And it's that time frame which is collapsing. And that's the challenge, because the future is encroaching in the present ever more quickly. And so therefore our ability to adapt, so I'm 56, and I still get frustrated with my iPhone, and I think I've got the latest this, that and the other, and it turns out it's 4 years old, and don't be silly, Dad, we've moved on. So there is also that the danger of alienation. Now, that is one of the things that is interesting when you start thinking about, technology being implanted in a human being. This is that if that then keeps you apace with it, how's that going to be? This isn't just in terms of improvement of life, but also, if change happens too fast, you've got a real risk of people being unsettled, uncentered, imbalanced. We've already got increases in, mental disorders and mental illness going on, and I'm sure that's a part of it, as well as I'm sure that the fact that we live increasingly staring at a screen. People's often their virtual reality is what they regard as being the reality. This is also brings in a whole other conversation about is Facebook a good thing, or actually is it something that has a negative impact on our own sense of self-worth, self-esteem, yada yada yada, all that kind of stuff. So it's a huge conversation.
What do you think about that then?
I think it's both. No doubt that Facebook, as an example, is addictive. No doubt about that at all. Sorry.
Definitely, yes. I was just gonna say that, I know personally, and I know of one of the smartest people I know is actually working at Google, and his task is to basically analyze the cognitive behavior of people and to make them click on stuff.
Yeah,
this is it. And then on Amazon there is similar. There is some amazing scientists that could be contributing to something bigger. They are working at those big tech companies, and their job is to make this stuff addictive. So I totally agree, no question.
Yeah, and I've felt it myself, and I would be amazed.
You're on Facebook quite a lot, actually.
Yeah, no, I am on
Oh,
Facebook a
uh-huh.
lot, and that, you know, there are times when I go, "Whoa, you know what? I got to step back." Because again, if you think about it, every single time that you go on, you're suddenly stepping into a whole host of different realities, different conversations, different cultures from all around the world. You know, whereas in the not so distant past, it would take a while for, you know, this kind of news to reach you. So suddenly you're just getting impacted by different realities, and there are times when it's just like, wow, you know, the thing to do is to just unplug, you know, recenter, reground, and connect yourself with, you know, who you are and your own values and whatever. So
Hmm.
yeah, no, I agree with you totally. And again, very recently, I made the conscious decision that my activity on Facebook is going to be far more reduced than it has been in the past.
Hmm. Do you think then, talking about the body physiologically speaking,
Mm.
do you think because, thinking about evolution, we're still craving sugar like we did 2,000 years ago, when we were just strolling around and then we find a, beehive, we get the honey and then we don't get any sugar for the other 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And now sugar is readily available and we still crave it, hence, potentially the obesity and things of that nature.
Yeah.
How is in terms of evolutionary process? And, obviously it's a complex subject, but then, going with your intuition here, in terms of the evolutionary process, is the brain ready for this pace? Because it seems like it's such an archaic part of our body that is developing really slowly if you think about many different factors. So how comes is it ready to absorb the amount of information and the amount of social interaction that was previously limited to 70 to 100 people?
Um, yeah, good question. My response is more that I don't know that it's so much about it being ready as
Mm.
the fact that it's about how is it going to adapt or how is it adapting. I mean, there are some areas which are really of concern to me, which is, I mean, again, going back to Facebook, if you look at, people's um, first habit for a lot of the time now, there's a new habit that is being created,
Hmm.
which is that rather engaging with something, you film it. So
Mm.
there are three different examples that I can give you. One was a guy, I think it was in India, who fell into a tiger's pit in a zoo, and people got their cameras out whilst they watched this tiger go and, in effect, drag this guy off and kill him.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know what I would do. I don't know what I would do. Another situation was in the States where there was this woman who was filming. There was a block of apartments on the opposite side that were near completion, but they were on fire, like big time, and you could see the flames roaring behind. And there was a builder who was on one of the balconies, and she was filming this, going, "OMG, OMG! Do you think the fire guys know that he's there?" Filming it, rather than
Hmm.
either screaming at the fire engine, getting on the phone, or getting out there, running along and saying, "Hey guys, what about this?" So, you know, there is this need within human beings to kind of be significant. And I think that need to be significant, and another need, which is to connect with people, is superficial in the virtual world by definition. But I think that is overriding the need for, human interaction and compassion, and that's worrying. A different example was one that I saw the other day where, there was this boy who was, I don't know, 6 years old, real sweet little guy, whose mum was filming him, and it was his birthday, and his dad was away on, in service. He was in the forces, and this boy read out this note, so unpacking this parcel, and it was like, what's the note? Oh, well, Daddy's saying, "Listen, son, I'm sorry I can't be with you today." And this kid was in tears. Clearly he missed his father. But this whole thing was a clever little ruse to kind of go, "But I got a surprise for you," and blah blah blah. And guess what? The surprise was Dad was, round the corner.
Hmm.
But it's like, so then you've got people that are creating these, I think, frankly pathetic scenarios, manipulating their children to burst into tears to create this great scenario, because in their minds is, in the back of their minds, I've got no doubt about this, is that this is going to be a social media hit, but it's at the cost of the well-being of their child.
But then don't they say that to make someone happy, you have to make them really unhappy first?
No.
And then they're going to be much happier, when the positive event comes in.
This is trauma. I mean, there's a difference between trauma and, listen, the kid was already missing his father.
Yeah, no, definitely. But thinking about that, though...
But what I mean about that is that is social manipulation in order to achieve an outcome which has got nothing to do with the well-being of that child. It's got everything to do with, let's create this scenario and post it on Facebook. That's what I mean, where people's virtual world becomes more important than the human beings that are in it.
Why do you think then, is this... Because I'm trying to unpack this. Is this, Facebook and social media, did they make us like that we want that gratification of likes and followers? And
no, that's a human need. It's a human need.
It just amplified it.
Yeah, correct. And it's a very easy way to begin to think that you have created your 15 minutes of fame. It's a very, very easy way, because it's kind of like being on TV. So you've got that as an access point to it, and it's easy. So that's that. But it's just, you could call it exploiting, or it's just revealing far more. Listen, we all want to be significant at certain times in our life, and for some people that's that. We also want to connect. So some people go, wow, I'll do something that's really loving and yada 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 and all this kind of stuff. So there are all sorts of different reasons to it, but it always comes back to, well, is this in the best interest of the individual, or is this because you want to get some likes?